Hijrah Migration. The Hijrah is the migration journey of the Islamic prophet Muhammad and his followers from Mecca to Yathrib, later renamed by him to Medina, in the year 622. In June 622, after being warned of a plot to assassinate him, Muhammad secretly left his home in Mecca to emigrate to Yathrib, 320 kilometers, 200 miles, north of Mecca, along with his companion Abu Bakr. Opening square bracket. 6. Yathrib was soon renamed Madinat, an-Nabi, city of the Prophet. But an-Nabiwas soon dropped, so its name is Medina, meaning the city. The Hijrah is also often identified with the start of the Islamic calendar, which was set to the 19th of April 622 in the Julian calendar. First Hijrah. The first Hijrah is dated to 615 Rajab, September to October 613, when a group of Muslims counseled by Muhammad to escape persecution in Mecca arrived at the court of the Christian monarch Negus of the Ethiopian Empire, Ashama ibn Abjar. Muhammad himself did not join this emigration. In that year, his followers fled Mecca's leading tribe, the Quraysh, who sent emissaries to Ethiopia to bring them back to the Arabian Peninsula. However, the Negus refused to send them back. After Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, had preached publicly for more than a decade, the opposition to him reached such a high pitch that, fearful for the safety, he sent some of his adherents to Ethiopia, where the Christian ruler extended protection to them, a memory of which has been cherished by Muslims ever since. But in Mecca the persecution worsened. Muhammad's followers were harassed, abused, and even tortured. At last, therefore, Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, sent 70 of his followers after the northern town of Yathrib, which was later to be renamed Medina, the city. Later, in the early fall of 622, he learned of a plot to murder him and, with his closest friend, Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, set off to join the emigrants. In Mecca, the plotters arrived at Muhammad's home to find that his cousin, Ali, had taken his place in bed. Enraged, the Meccans set a price on Muhammad's head and set off in pursuit. Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and Abu Bakr, however, had taken refuge in a cave where, as they hid from the pursuers, a spider spun its web across the cave's mouth. When they saw that the web was unbroken, the Meccans passed by and Muhammad and Abu Bakr went on to Medina, where they were joyously welcomed by a throng of Medinans as well as the Meccans who had gone ahead to prepare the way. This was the Hijrah, anglicized as Hijrah, usually, but inaccurately translated as flight, from which the Muslim era is dated. In fact, the Hijrah was not a flight but a carefully planned migration which marks not only a break in history, the beginning of the Islamic era, but also, for Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and the Muslims, a new way of life. Henceforth, the organizational principle of the community was not to be mere blood kinship, but the greater brotherhood of all Muslims. The men who accompanied Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, on the Hijrah were called the Muhajirun, those that made the Hijrah or the emigrants, while those in Medina who became Muslims were called the Ansar or helpers. Quote, Muhammad was well acquainted with the situation in Medina. Earlier, before the Hijrah, the city had sent envoys to Mecca asking Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, to mediate a dispute between two powerful tribes. What the envoys saw and heard had impressed them and they had invited Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, to settle in Medina. After the Hijrah, Muhammad's exceptional qualities so impressed the Medinans that the rival tribes and their allies temporarily closed ranks as, on March 15, 624, Muhammad and his supporters moved against the pagans of Mecca. The migration. According to Muslim tradition, after receiving divine direction to depart Mecca, Muhammad began taking preparation and informed Abu Bakr of his plan. On the night of his departure, Muhammad's house was besieged by men of the Quraysh who planned to kill him in the morning. At the time, Muhammad possessed various properties of the Quraysh given to him in trust. So he handed them over to Ali and directed him to return them to their owners, and asked him to lie down on his bed, assuring him of God's protection. It is said that when Muhammad emerged from his house, he recited the 9th verse of Surah Yasin of the Quran and threw a handful of dust at the direction of the besiegers, rendering the besiegers unable to see him. Soon, Muhammad joined Abu Bakr, left the city, and the two took shelter in a cave outside the city. Next morning, the besiegers were frustrated to find Ali on Muhammad's bed. Fooled and thwarted by Muhammad's plan, they rummaged the city in search for him, and some of them eventually reached the threshold of the cave, but success eluded them. When the Quraysh came to know of Muhammad's escape, they announced heavy reward for bringing Muhammad back to them, alive or dead. Unable to resist this temptation, pursuers scattered in all directions. After staying for 3 days, Muhammad and Abu Bakr resumed their journey and were pursued by Suraka bin Malik. But each time he neared Muhammad's party, his horse stumbled and he finally abandoned his desire of capturing Muhammad. Opening square bracket. 27. After 8 days' journey, Muhammad entered the outskirts of Medina around June 622, but did not enter the city directly. He stopped at a place called Quba, a place some miles from the main city, and established a mosque there. After a 4-day stay at Quba, Muhammad along with Abu Bakr continued the migration to Medina, participated in the first Friday prayer on the way, and upon reaching the city, were greeted cordially by its people.